Hello, my name is Robert Gaskamp, founder of IDnext, the independent European Center of Expertise on Digital Identity that offers an open and independent knowledge and network platform. We do this by increasing knowledge, expertise, and experience through collaboration and change. Digitalization is increasingly playing an important role in society. Digital possibilities and infrastructure are increasingly being used. Critical infrastructure is becoming more interconnected and technical developments are under pressure. In addition, we can't ignore the work that also is being done on the development of wallets within Europe. What can we expect now in this area, and what role does Europe, but also beyond, play in this? I will discuss this with my guest, Daniel Goldscheider. He's the co-founder and CEO of Yes.com, a leading application programming interface ecosystem. Also previously co-founded Media Guide and currently on the board of directors of Valamar Rivera, the largest hospitality company in Croatia. But especially, and it's also important for this interview, he's the founder of the OpenWallet Foundation. Daniel, welcome.
Robert, thank you very much for having me. I should clarify, I sold Yes.com at the end of last year.
Okay.
So I am here exclusively representing the OpenWallet Foundation and not Yes.com.
Good, sir. Good for the clarity. If I would ask friends, who is Daniel, what would they say?
Well, like you, I am a father. I know that you're going to cook dinner in an hour or so, and I'm going to do the same. I'm a father of 3 children. I am a husband of my wife, whom I dearly love. And I have a background in startups. I love creating something. I love the energy when you start something new. And I am at the moment in a really unusual role because I represent a nonprofit foundation that I co-founded with the Linux Foundation.
Yep.
And I must say, I really love it because, typically when you are in a commercial world, there is always a question of, who's going to make more money with this deal. Here, it's just basically for the benefit of everyone, hopefully. And it's very enticing.
Yeah, because you just mentioned you're a founder of the OpenWallet Foundation. What was the main reason why you started this foundation?
So it really started a little over a year ago while I was still with Yes.com. And it was clear that wallets were becoming a thing. Large, big tech companies, whether it's Google or Samsung or Apple, are looking into wallets and are really investing quite a bit. You mentioned the European Commission and the European Union that is very seriously pursuing wallets. But wherever you look, you see that both the private sector as well as the public sector is really keen on wallets. And the motivations why different constituencies are interested in wallets might differ. Wallets could either be an incredibly crucial choke point, and you can build a walled garden around the wallet to extract money from transactions or potentially data. And you can also look at wallets as almost the opposite and say, no, a wallet should really work on behalf of you and me, on behalf of all the users. And they should be at least one app on your phone or on your smartphone that really does your bidding. But whatever your perspective, I think it is clear that wallets are becoming truly critical infrastructure for your identity, for payments, for healthcare information, how you will in the future prove that you finished high school or university, that you are allowed to drive a car, that you should get access to a car or to your hotel room or to your own home. So wallets are really important. And the basic idea back then is the same as it is now, to say, if wallets are so important, maybe we should think about constructing wallets, creating wallets, the same way we are creating web browsers. When you think about web browsers, at the very heart of a web browser are open standards, right?
Yep.
You need HTTP, HTML, JavaScript. Without that, the web would simply not exist. But every web browser doesn't matter which one you use. Every web browser that I know is not just based on open standards, but also based on open source software. Why? Well, one, it's cheaper. If you and I create the guts of a web browser together, you will save money and I will save money. Maybe you have all the money in the world, but we're also going to save time. There is a security aspect because the more developers are looking at code, the easier it is to see a vulnerability and hopefully detect it before it is being exploited. But if it is exploited and you find the fix, I get to use that fix. So I think open source is a very good model to increase the security. And it's going to help with interoperability. Because even if we're using the same standards, you and I might interpret those standards differently, and we could still end up with solutions that have a lot of friction. And there is going to be also a lot of audit challenges, right? If there are 10 wallets in the Netherlands and 10 wallets in Austria and in Switzerland and in Germany and Japan and the US, and let's say you're looking at this from the perspective of the Department of Homeland Security, and you want to issue a green card, and you have 10 wallets in every country on Earth. You end up with thousands of wallets. How are you going to make sure as an issuer that the wallet is secure? You can audit one wallet. Maybe you audit 5 wallets or 10 wallets. You can't audit 1,000 wallets. So this is another area where I believe that having very good and common open source components that many wallets can use, that we know work well and we know are really secure, will help remove friction.
Yeah, okay, because you mentioned also about the members. I think you almost have 50 members of the OpenWallet Foundation, if I'm correct, but it's increasing. So you are looking to all kinds of partners in order to work with you. Google and Microsoft are on board. Apple seems to be still in the waiting room. Is that correct? Or
yes, we are 55 members. We launched, I think, with 36 or 37. We're now 55. I can tell you it was not part of my plan when I started thinking about this idea that maybe we should create open source software together.
No.
That companies like Google or Microsoft or Accenture or Visa would join so early. And Google, for instance, contributed a lot of code as well. And I think it is just awesome to see that we have very innovative startups, but also very large big tech corporations interested to contribute code. And in my opinion, this is really the heart of what OpenWallet should be. It should be a big tent that brings a lot of different companies together, a lot of different governments together, and then finally the public sector and the private sector together.
Yeah, yeah. Although your mission states to facilitate the creation of interoperable and secure solutions while promoting transparency and collaboration. Will that be the hard part? Transparency, collaboration, you think, or?
Well, I think the hardest part at the moment might be the interoperability part. I think the people around the table really are coming to this with the best of intentions. I think people want to end up with secure and transparent solutions. I think all the people by definition in OpenWallet are interested in transparency because practically everything we do is transparent. When we talk about vulnerabilities, that's not going to be always completely transparent for security reasons, but OpenWallet really is trying to be as transparent as humanly possible. But interoperability is going to take time because you could look at this top down or bottom up. So top down, you and I basically would say, the new governor of Mars said, Robert, Daniel, you are going to figure this identity thing out. We get together, we sit down after a couple of weeks, we have an architecture, we select the protocols, we select the credential formats, and we're going to mandate that all of Mars has to live up to whatever we discussed. The situation here on Earth is very different. The situation is one where you have a lot of different technologies and standards. You have a lot of different developers who are in love with what they've spent so much time on in many cases for years of their life. But you also have governments that picked their darlings, right? So the European Commission, for instance, picked MDL and SDJOTS. Now, other jurisdictions have picked ANONCREDs or W3C verifiable credentials. You may pick DITCOM, or you may pick, OpenID for verifiable credentials. So, with or without OpenWallet, I don't think there is any way for anyone to magically swoop in and save the day and say, God has spoken, here are the 10 rules of how we're going to create the world's global wallet infrastructure. So a top-down approach is very attractive, but in my opinion, not very realistic, which is why we're doing the opposite. We're basically saying, let's try to create something bottom-up. Let's try to bring in as many software projects, code projects as possible. Mm-hmm. Let's bring in as many government officials as possible. And let's start to develop software together. And in the process of doing so, develop trust together. And through that trust, eventually come to a situation where you have your credential format, I have mine. But over a beer, I might actually see something beautiful in your approach. I may still hate your credential format, but I think that there is something you do about holder binding that is really, really smart, right? So I think there is this opportunity to, by bringing people together, define challenges we all face, define things we all want to see in terms of interoperability, and then figure out how we can do that. Completely respecting that sovereign countries are going to make sovereign decisions of how they want to see their wallets.
Yeah. And also AI is upcoming. I mean, we can't ignore it anymore. It's bound to be everywhere. What vital role plays AI in the world of digital wallets, you think?
It's a good question. I think, one, it will make wallets more important, because I think every technology creates opportunities and threats, and AI will create enormous opportunity and enormous threats. So I believe, some of the threats that AI is going to create in terms of being able to show you a video of yourself saying something that you never said in your life, right? There is going to be a question of how can I know that Robert is Robert, and Robert actually said, what he said. How can I know that I'm actually in this video conference with you?
Yeah.
And I believe wallets are going to play a very big role in bringing trust into a system that will require that trust more than ever.
Yeah. Okay. And well, we mentioned briefly about European Commission or European Union. I think it's a long and tough process with the European Union, because we have a lot of member states there who has an opinion. All member states need to comply with the regulation of the wallet. It's closely related to the eIDAS regulation. So what do you think? Will the European Union or the Commission keep up the pace?
Well, I know some of the people who are involved, and I really like them. And I also think that they're doing really good work. I think the Commission was really smart to focus eIDAS 2 very much on wallets, and the idea that you are not necessarily needing any identity provider to prove who you are, but you can actually do it yourself. I think the European Union and Europe has an opportunity to lead the world when it comes to wallets in a similar way as it did with GDPR. Not to say that necessarily we want the exact same text of GDPR in California, but to inspire California to do something that follows some of the fundamental ideas. And I believe Europe at the moment is definitely at the forefront of trying to think through how a holistic identity system that is more decentralized than what we used to have is going to look like. So I don't have a glass ball to look into the future, but I can tell you that I'm definitely rooting for that effort to be successful.
Okay. Well, talking about the glass ball, and also to finish this interview with you, Daniel, if we look forward until 3 or 5 years, what do you think? Where are we? Do we all have a wallet, one wallet, multiple wallets? What's your ideas, vision about this?
So wallets have become a lot more important over the last couple of years, right? A lot of people use wallets, for instance, to make credit card payments.
Mhm.
And with very good reasons, because they're actually safer. Because a digital wallet is not going to pass on, at least a good digital wallet is not going to pass on your credit card number. It's just going to pass on a token that is a one-time number. So if I'm a merchant, and even if I'm malicious, I never see the number. I just see something that I will never be able to use in the future. So you see that wallets are being used more and more, and I think that trend is definitely going to continue. The question really is, what's the wallet world that we're going to see in a couple of years? I think there could be a world where everything is dominated by a few large companies. There could be a world where countries will say that they want at least the identity credentials, something like an ID card or maybe a driver's license, that they would say, no, we want that just in a government wallet.
Mhm.
Personally, I am hoping for something else. I'm hoping that we're going to live in a world where there is a flourishing ecosystem of secure, interoperable, privacy-preserving wallets, where you and I, at the end of the day, have a choice in which wallets we want to use.
Mhm.
And we have a system that guarantees that whatever wallet we use, we will be able to receive credentials, and we're going to be able to pass them on through, the operating system and the underlying hardware to the verifier, to the relying party, and that we take as much friction as possible out of that.
Okay, good. So let's make a promise. Let's do an interview within 3 years and then see if this outcome is really become real. I would like to thank you for this interview, Daniel, and certainly hope to meet you soon. Thank you.
It would be my pleasure, and thank you again for having me.